Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my book story on Global Conference TV. This is a show that we give an opportunity authors to come and share their stories and the story behind the story. Today I am with a wonderful guest, Reverend Bafo. He's an author, a speaker, and a pastor. Today we are going to review his book, Heaven in Prison. Mr. Bafo, thank you for gracing us with your presence, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Siyabonga, for having me.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
I'm doing well.
Thank you.
I'm great to have an opportunity to share with you, because we're always looking for an opportunity to learn from people who have traveled a certain path. And I was reading your book, and I was so amazed about the beauty of the story in that book. But before we can dwell in the book, tell us, where did it all begin? Where did it all start? And how did it start?
Let me start by saying I was born and brought up in Pinville.
Okay.
Old Pinville. It's where I grew up. And, you know, when I was of 14, 15 years of age, and then, you know, the peer group pressure and all those things.
Peer pressure.
Yes. Then as a young person, I started smoking. And I thought that was cool. That was making me to be counted amongst those, you know, who were smoking. And it went on until, you know, I left school.
Okay.
At an early age. When I left school, I was 15 years old. I thought I can make it to the corporate world. Yeah, I thought that decision was going to work for me. Yes, and then I started, you know, drinking. You know, it started, you know, gradually, you know. Yes, it started when I was invited by friends, you know, to the birthday parties. I remember the first time I drank was where I was working. We were working night shift, and we bought a bottle of wine. Yeah, and it tasted so sweet, and, you know, I thought, this is the life. This is the life. You know, then it went on like that. Started gambling, you know, in the township. We gambled, and one incident, nearly died because I was stabbed in the stomach when we were fighting in that gambling. Yes, of days. Then it's where everything went wrong. Yes, because alcohol got into me gradually, because you will never notice.
So you ended up becoming a slave of alcohol.
I ended up becoming a slave of alcohol. You know, in the process, when you are getting into this alcohol and getting to be an alcoholic, you get praises from friends who are also drinking.
So you become like a leader.
You become, you know, for instance, when it's Friday and you buy liquor for your friends, 2 or 3 of them, Saturday morning they'll come back and say, hey, yesterday I was Bulalam. You said 4, you said, you know, 6, and a nip, you know, and you feel great by then, and they pat you at the back, and you feel like I guess the O, you see, and that's where things go wrong. Okay. Yeah, until you don't really have control of alcohol. Yeah.
For this, you have a beautiful story, because I just imagine that young boy who was set astray by alcohol. But today I'm sitting with a respected man in a community. You're running a church, you're running your business, you're an author, you're a speaker. I just want to get into your mind to understand what changed in your mind. Like, what was the transformation that made you to decide, no, alcohol is not good for me, drugs are not good for me, and so many things that you have changed. What changed in your mind?
Yeah, the change came when I was in prison.
Okay.
Because I went to prison because of a crime I committed. while I was under influence of
Alcohol.
liquor, yes. When I was in prison, I was smoking, and I didn't have money to buy cigarettes in prison
Okay.
or tobacco. And I left my friends, yes, and I left them believing that they still love me as they loved me when I bought liquor for them. But only to find that none of them came to pay me a visit.
Wow.
Yes, and none of them bought me a packet of cigarettes
Cigarette.
or a packet of BB, because that's what we smoke when we are in prison. These cigarettes, you know, are not as strong as BPP, because they want something strong. Yes. Now, and then when you are in prison, there are two things that are happening in a person.
Okay.
There is this internal conflict and an external conflict.
Okay.
Yes. Now, the internal conflict is when you realize that you were not created to be locked in a cell as a human being. You were not created for that. And that works in you. And it brings a question to you that, who am I? Was I created to be in this place?
Yeah.
Then you ask yourself, what went wrong? Why am I here? You see, when you ask yourself those questions, you need an answer. And now you find that you don't get an answer. The answer will come from you. Then I looked at my background. I looked at my friends. I looked at everything that I was doing with my friends, thinking that they love me.
But
And I realized that no, they didn't love me, because they don't even pay a visit here. They don't visit me.
Yeah.
Then I put myself in the center and surrounded myself with friends. And then I tried to find the love that I thought they are. And unfortunately, I find nothing.
So that was the thing that changed your mindset to say, I must find yourself, or but can you take us through the process of when because I can imagine when you're saying you put yourself in a center and you look around and then you couldn't find a real friend.
Yeah.
But they should, because even on the book, I remember when you're saying, even when you started attending church, and some of the guys, they were saying, now you're acting fun, you're doing something wrong, because they say, what will the other guys in the township would say if we are attending church? But what was that motivation that made you to say, this is what I want, and I'm going for it?
Yeah, as I said, I surrounded myself with friends and found that none of them loved me.
Yes, sir.
Then I asked myself, what am I going to do now? Because I needed help.
Okay.
Yes, I needed help. Now, in prison, there are pastors who come and preach on Sundays. Yes. And as I say, this internal conflict, then I realized that there is nothing that can help me, because what I'm feeling is from inside me.
Inside, yeah.
Yes. Then I said, because before I went to the church, I tried to get answers, to get help, but no one will help you, because every inmate has got his own burden. Yes. Then one day I said, let me go and listen to the pastors who are preaching there. Then that's where things started. Yes, because when I went there, the preacher was preaching there was Reverend Matebula, H.M. Matebula, he was in Witbank prison, Witbank congregation by then. It was the NG Kerk in Africa. He was the one who preached, and he opened the scripture, Isaiah chapter 5. Yeah, and when he explained it, I connected with that scripture and said, it talks about me, because it was saying that there was a man who had a garden in a vineyard, and he did everything there, but there were thorns and grass and all these things, and he prepared the vineyard to plant and planted, and there were grapes then. And when it was time for him, it was a harvest time. When he harvested, he got sour grapes, and he asked the people around there that what is it that he has not done in his vineyard that makes him, when he's harvesting and he gets sour grapes. Yeah, and Reverend Matebula, when he explained that, he said, we are the vineyard, and the man who owns the vineyard is God. And he said, we've got eyes, ears, we've got hands and feet, we've got everything. And what is it that God has not done on us? That makes him, when he comes to us, to look for good works. But you find, and bad things that we've done. And for me, it goes without say, because I was there in prison, and because that was a stamp to say bad things have led me here.
And there's something that I'm interested to get from you. Your transformation, it's so amazing, because if you can tell someone that I was once a drunkard, I was once in prison, they wouldn't believe. But I want you to know, what is it that drives you now? What keeps, what is it that drives you?
Yeah, what I can say perhaps, to add, what made me write a book. Yes, it's when I look back at what happened when I started to go and listen to the Word of God. God gradually there in prison, gradually worked in me through His Word. Then I had a desire, I had a vision to be a better person. Because when I looked at my background, there was nothing to be proud of. And I said, God, if you can help me to be a changed man, to be your servant, I will work for you, Lord. And from there in prison, He gave me strength to stop smoking there, which was not an easy thing. I got ill, I got sick for 8 days. I had a headache that was killing me, and a blocked nose. Every morning when we go to work there in prison, I will start to get a medication that gave me a nose drop and headache pills every day for 8 days. And then from there, you know what I told myself? I thought, if I'm getting ill to be healed, I'm going to persevere. Wow, I'm going to stand for it in order to be healed. Yes. And that's exactly what happened. After that, I got, you have your experience when you had flu and your nose is blocked, but when it becomes unblocked and you inhale fresh air, I started feeling like I can run a distance without getting tired, I felt my strength coming back. I felt I can run a long distance. I felt like I was in a dark room with windows closed and curtains. And suddenly they were opened, and the window was open, and there was fresh air, and God helped me there. And when I was released, because I left school at an early age, at standard 5, and then I was released in 87, and in 89, I went back to school. Yes, because that was the drive to say, I want to thank God for what He did for me, and I want to talk to people, to tell people about what God can do to them, and I want to talk to those who might find themselves in a situation that I was in, the problem of alcohol, problem of gambling, problem, that if they put their trust to God and start having a vision of changing and work towards it, nothing is impossible with God. Yeah.
And I understand that throughout the process, it was not easy. Can you share with the viewers what challenges that you face along the way, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, nothing is easy. There were challenges. Like when I went back to school, I had friends who were saying, you know, saying Tala. Yeah, because when I went back to school, it was after 17 years I left school.
Sure.
I left school in 1972 and I went back to school in 1989.
Yeah.
That was 17 years. They said to me, yeah, that's a long time for a person to go back to school because my mind has rusted. Yes.
So they
But-
believe that the mind.
yeah, they believe that the mind of a person gets rusted if you don't go to school after 5 years, 10 years, you know. Yeah, but I trusted God. I said, the God who gave me strength in prison to stop smoking, He will also do that. Yes. And I pushed myself to say, I want to study. I want to make my life better. Yes. And step by step, I got into that. Yeah. Friends were saying, what do I want? If I want a standard 10 certificate, there are boys who can create it, yeah, who can sell me that. But I said, now I want to go back to the classroom. And yes, from there I got my standard 10.
Can you share with us the method of studying that you were using? Because I read it in the book and it was so amazing, and the challenges that you are facing.
Yeah.
Because you said that you are working and studying.
Yes. I was working, and when because adult school, I go after I come back from work. We start at 6 till 9. When I went to work, I had a plastic carrier bag. I put it in my textbook there. During lunchtime, during tea time, I will eat so quickly so that I can have at least 5 to 10 minutes to read. Even if I read a page, that was enough for me. Lunchtime, I eat quickly so that I can have enough time to study. And where I was working, I had a big cardboard I used as my chart, and I put all the notes there. While I'm working, I read there. You know, I remember one young man said to me, "Hey, Mr. Bafo, yeah, be careful you not get mixed up in your mind." Yeah, but I said no, I won't. Yes. So even when I studied at home, I remember when I was staying in the church in Klipspruit. I had a room there. I had a portable radio and a cassette. You know, remember those cassettes? I will put a cassette and tape myself reading there, and from there, yeah, and I play it, listening to my voice, and you know, those methods helped me to remember.
And who was teaching you those methods? With something that comes from within, or someone who advised you, know, Mr. Bafo, you can record yourself and listen to yourself.
Yes, you know, when you get into studying, you want some people to advise. The main person who was coaching me or helping me is Reverend Mutingwe, because he was also studying.
All right.
And his wife was also studying. So I was with people who were studying. You know, if you want to succeed, if you want something, talk with people who are already there, or people who have passed there.
Like-minded people,
yeah. They will mentor you. They will tell you how to do it. Yeah.
And there's another point that when I was reading the book, I liked it. When you said when you came back and your mom was excited, but the neighbors they tell your mom that she should not be excited because he will change. And hearing that, how did it make you feel?
Yeah, it put a pressure in me. You must remember when I came back from prison, I wasn't even sure that I will be able to not to get into drinking, and because my friends were telling me, no, when you will come back from prison after 2-3 months, you say. For 2-3 months, you say you are not drinking, but after 3 months, you go back to drinking. There are many Amachita here who said that, you know. So I wasn't even sure, but I kept on praying to Lord, be with me, help me, because I no longer want to go back to that background.
So will you say that the comment from your neighbor, it was one of the things that motivated you to say, I have to prove these people wrong, and or
Yes, yes. As I said, it put pressure on me. Yes, because I wanted to prove to them that I trust God to go through with me here. Yeah.
your motivation was to make your mom happy, or was to prove to God that, to prove to people that God can change a life?
Yeah, the first thing is God.
Okay.
Yes, it's God to let people know how God can help each other. And in the process, my mother also benefits from what God has did to me. Yes, and then it was also to make my parents happy. Yeah.
And there's another interesting point where a church, they did a farewell for you, saying, and they told everyone that Mr. Bafo is going to varsity, and when you get there, you are not accepted. And how did that break you, or did it break you? How did it make you feel?
Yeah, you remind me. You know, when you thought now everything is okay, then boom comes now a test. Because when I applied for the first time, I wanted to study theology. I wanted to be mfundis in the church, because I saw that being a member in the church, compared to what God did for me, was not enough.
Yeah.
So I wanted to preach, to tell people about what God did to me. Then I applied to the university, and they didn't answer me, you know. You know, when you apply. And then I assumed that everything is okay. Yes. And then in 83, January, I went to UNIQA. Yeah. It was then, when I was there, they gave me the letter that says my application was unsuccessful. But at the church, they threw a big party saying, now I'm going to study theology, I'm going to be a minister, you know, and gave me money and all that. And then when they rejected me there at school, you know, I prayed the whole week. And I asked God, how can God let this happen to me? Because I'm there, I wanted to work for Him. How can God let this happen? Thinking about the people in the congregation who threw a party for me, you know, and even my neighbors told them that I'm going to the university, you know. Hey, that nearly. And I started getting angry with God. How can God disappoint me in this way? You know, is God silent in these things? Is God not responding when, you know? And ask myself, is this a call from God? Am I called by God to be a minister, or was it something that, you know? It was a feeling. Yeah, and then Reverend Tuna said, no, Norman, come back. We will deal with that. Wow. Then it's when I came back and I registered with a private school, Basa Tutorial at Bramfontein, and upgraded the symbol. And in '94, I applied and I started there.
You know, this is an interesting story, and I wish that people will get themselves with the book, because you shared a beautiful story where God changed your life around, and now I want to give you 1 minute where you can just share with people the message that is in your heart. Like the title of the show is My Book Story. Can you share with the people for 1 minute what is your book story, and why they should get your book, and where can they get the book?
Yes. The story that I want to convey.
Yes, sir.
Is that as first, I've got seven words to say.
All right.
The first one is the importance of education. It is very important for us to get education. Yeah, it doesn't matter how old you are. There's no age limit in education. And secondly, it is never too late.
Wow.
to go back to school. And thirdly, the danger of, the pains of alcohol, of being an alcoholic. It comes with the pains. And then fourthly, it's never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late. And the fifth one is there is a second chance in life. And if the second chance prevails, grab it with both hands. Yes.
Yeah.
And the sixth one is never give up in life. And the last one, the benefit of having God in your life,
Yeah.
who will make all these other things I mentioned possible. Nothing is impossible with him.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Viewers, this is my book story on Global Conference TV. I'm sure and I'm convinced that you have realized that in this show, we are not only sharing stories about book, but we're sharing stories about the man. And I want to encourage you to make sure Mr. Bafo will share with you how you guys are going to get the book. But I want to tell you, this is a book about a man who started from the bottom and God took him up to the top. And Mr. Bafo, before we wrap up the show, can you share with the viewers how can they connect with you and then how can they get the book?
Yeah, my cell number is 063 680 4855.
You say it again?
063 680 4855.
Your social media?
Social media is bafonoman@yahoo.com.
Okay.
Yes.
And then on Facebook, are you on Facebook, on Twitter?
Yes, and on Facebook also.
It's Bafonoman.
Bafonoman, yes. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now signing out. Don't remember that the channel that you are on, it's Global Conference TV. The name of the show is My Book Story. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel so that you become the first. Every time when we upload new content, you'll be the first one to get. And I'm saying this again. Make sure that you get the book. The title of the book is Heaven in Prison. Mr. Bafo is sharing how he found God in prison. Make sure you get the book and your life will never be the same. I'm signing out again. The name of the show is My Book Story on Global Conference TV. Subscribe and make sure that your life will never be the same.